it worth it to buy the Nintendo Switch OLED? With the new Switch on the horizon, you have never had more variety when it comes to which Switch is best for you. So whether you're looking for a Switch for yourself or maybe a friend or a cousin, don't worry, I'm gonna help you figure out which Switch is the best for your needs. First up is the original Switch, price tag starting at $299. The original Switch has a lot of different ways for gameplay. There's TV, there's tabletop, and there's also handheld gameplay. The one downside I would say with this one is that the tabletop gameplay, if this is something you're planning on using a lot, isn't necessarily at its best. In this model, if you're playing, say, on a TV and the TV gets bumped, it's gonna get a little wobbly. It also doesn't have necessarily the best angles. There's only one angle currently with the tabletop version, so if you can't see where you're at,
moving down, you're sitting.
As far as storage goes, we've got 32 gigabytes, pretty far on the not good side. If you like to play a lot of games and don't really want to keep a lot of physical copies around, you're definitely gonna need a micro SD card. The original Switch is compatible with all Nintendo Switch games so far. I definitely don't think down the line, as long as the only model they have out is the Nintendo Switch OLED, you're gonna have any games you're going to miss out on. Anything you can play on the Nintendo Switch OLED, you can also play on the original Nintendo Switch. All right, so the best games for this model are going to be Breath of the Wild. You're definitely gonna wanna play it on the TV and get that just beautiful landscape on the big screen. Also, a lot of multiplayer games are going to be the best for this. So if you play like Mario Party a lot or Mario Kart, this is going to be the best version for you because it has that TV capability, and if you really need to, it does have the tabletop option. Next up is the Switch Lite. Price for the Switch Lite is a whole $100 cheaper at $199. Although I will say the cheaper price does come at a cost. There are limited features on this version. With this version, you also cannot take the Joy-Cons off. It is going to be a solid one piece. So if you were really looking forward to that gameplay with the Joy-Cons just in your hands, that's not going to be a possibility for you on the Switch Lite. This is also the most customizable version of the Switch with their 5 different colors it comes in: gray, turquoise, yellow, coral, and blue. For size, obviously it lives up to its name, the Nintendo Lite. It's a little bit smaller, coming in at 3.6 inches tall, 8.2 inches wide, and 0.55 inches deep. It also weighs 0.61 pounds. So again, a little lighter, but I would say if your main problem with the Switch is that it's too heavy, I don't think you're really gonna notice that much of a difference for it to really make an impact that this is the version you need to buy. Also got the same storage size at 32 gigabytes. So while it may be small, it is still mighty. This is probably the biggest bummer about the Switch Lite, is that it has limited compatibility. Something I would say to keep in mind with this compatibility is that games usually cost about $60. So with a $100 price tag difference between the regular Switch and the Switch Lite, you're looking at about $40 preventing you from playing like a new game that you really want to play. But if you are a player that you loved the DS and you love the Game Boy, like that was for you, that was your favorite version of any Nintendo console, you're gonna love the Switch Lite. This is also great for kids too, because if you lose it, you know what? You saved an extra $100 that you would have spent on the entire Nintendo Switch. Plus, if you're not very tech savvy and you're like, you know what? I wouldn't have been able to figure out how to hook it up to the TV anyway, this is for you. Plus, there are a lot of games that are great just playing on the Switch. Animal Crossing? Incredible. I have a full-fledged Switch and I play it mostly on the handheld version. Another game that's great for this version is Mario Odyssey. This game you can completely play just on a handheld version. You don't need a TV, and it's an amazing game. Strategy games like, say, Mario Rabbids are also really great for this version because you don't necessarily need like something all up on the TV. It's a slower paced game. You can just kind of relax from your bed and play. All right, next up is the hot new thing, the Nintendo Switch OLED. But is it really worth it for you and your family? So you're looking at a bigger price tag at $349. I think it's a big deal to figure out whether or not that's actually worth it for you. So we're looking at a couple new features, but again, not anything that you didn't have before, right? You have that TV gameplay, but you have increased online play with this version due to the LAN port. You also have a tabletop version. This is probably the biggest difference, is that they really worked on making the tabletop version more superior. So for this tabletop version, the stand is going to be wider and also more adjustable. So you can kind of fix the angles you want with this as well. So again, if you're planning on bringing this not to your house, maybe to like somebody else's party to play those group games, this is where it's really gonna shine. As well as say, you know, if you're planning on traveling with it and you wanna play with other people and not just yourself, this is also really gonna shine. And the final feature is something all three of these Switches have, which is that handheld gameplay. The biggest difference for this handheld gameplay is that you're going to have a bigger screen. So if you really care about that kind of immersive gameplay and losing yourself in the screen, this is gonna be the best version for you. I do feel like I gotta be honest here, all of those features pretty much are available on the original Switch. It's only $50 cheaper unless you really use your tabletop play a lot or are a huge online gamer. I feel like the difference is gonna be like, you know how like wine tasters are like,
this hails from Paris in the spring.
but like you're a normal person and like it just tastes like red wine to you. I feel like it'll be the same thing. If you're just a normal person, you're not gonna notice a difference. I pretty much guarantee you. But if you are very into the specs of Nintendo, it'll make a little bit of a difference for you. I still feel like not that much though. I'll be honest. Another one of the biggest differences for this is that it's a different color. You can get a white version. So sleek. I will say, I feel like it looks good. I hate that I like it, but I like it. When it comes to storage, this is a vastly superior version coming in at 64 gigabytes. You're still probably gonna need an SD card if you like having games on your Switch instead of in physical versions, but we're getting there. This version has full compatibility with all Nintendo Switch games. There's not gonna be any game that you won't be able to play that's a Nintendo Switch game with this version. I'm sure even when eventually they come out with a model past the Nintendo Switch OLED, you probably bought yourself an extra couple years because I'm sure they're still gonna make games for the Nintendo Switch OLED version for a little bit. So if you don't have a Switch at all, this is probably gonna be your best bet so you don't get left behind with whatever the next update's gonna be. Best games for this are going to, again, be those big multiplayer games. I think there are certain multiplayer games where the bigger the screen, the better it's gonna be, right? So something like Smash, there's gonna be more room for everyone, so you can actually see better if you're playing on tabletop version. Another great game for this version is Splatoon. This is gonna be awesome because Splatoon has a lot of online gameplay, so you finally get that gameplay you deserve with that faster internet. Honestly, basically anything that's online gameplay, this is gonna be you living your best life with this version. There is a way to adapt the original Switch also for online play, but if you're not tech savvy and you just want it done for you, this is all wrapped up in a beautiful bow. And speaking of online, there was just a recent link that we might be seeing Netflix gaming. So if there's compatibility with that on the Switch, this is gonna be your best bet as well. Hopefully that streaming capability will be like butter. Currently, you can't even use regular Netflix on the Switch, but I have hope. It's been too long. It needs to happen. It's inevitable. Again, I think this is going to be the best version for you if you use that GameTop gameplay a lot, or if you're an online gamer, this is the online version for you. As well as just in general, if you play handheld a lot but don't really want to cut that cord and just go Nintendo Switch Lite, this is a great medium for you because it has that bigger screen. All right, now that we've gone through the different versions, let's break down which upcoming games are going to be better for which version. So that way, if you're interested in playing a specific game, you can figure out which version is best for this game. If you really just want to play Mario Party Superstars, like you're a Mario Party fan and you know this is going to be the game that you get the most miles out of, the Nintendo Switch OLED is going to be best for you because one of the biggest, most exciting features is that online gameplay, and you don't want to leave it up to chance, right? You're going to want to use the model that's most supported for online gameplay. Breath of the Wild 2, I feel like is a hard one because it'll be perfectly fine on the original. You're really not going to be missing out on much. The only way you would really truly be missing out by not having the OLED for Breath of the Wild 2 is if you mostly play Breath of the Wild handheld version. In that case, I would say the OLED is going to be superior to the Switch Lite because of that bigger screen. If you're a Splatoon 3 fan, I feel like the OLED is going to be best for you. But again, if you already have a Nintendo Switch, I don't think you need to go out and buy a brand new OLED. And finally, Metroid Dread. A lot of people who are excited for Metroid Dread are a little worried if they're gonna miss out on anything by not getting this OLED version because it is the title drop with OLED, but I don't really think you're gonna be missing out on that much, especially if you already have a Switch. I don't know if it's really worth it for you. If you're looking for your first console in this line of consoles, I would say go with the OLED so you don't get left behind. But if you're really excited for Metroid Dread and you already have a Switch, gameplay is gonna be the same while docked anyway. The only main difference is if you really love playing handheld, the screen's gonna be a little smaller and it may not be like as bright for you. But again, I don't think it's gonna be enough that you need to spend a whole almost $400. So if you're willing to wait 2 to 3 years, then yeah, wait. But if there's games that you really wanna play and you're looking for your first ever Switch, I would say go with the OLED so that whenever that new version comes out in 2 to 3 years, you don't get left behind. If you already have a Switch and you're wondering whether or not the upgrade is worth it for you, I think you just need to look at what type of gaming you do the most. And if you're looking for a gift for your niece or nephew or a friend, I think, again, you just need to look at what their age range is. Are they going to possibly lose it? Do they know how to hook things up to the TV on their own, or will they need their parents' help? If you want more details and what this future Switch might look like past the Nintendo Switch OLED, go ahead and check out my video where I go more in depth about it right over here.